Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. All right, everybody, welcome back. And I'm joined by Dr. Nicole Sinisga. Doctor, welcome back. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. How's it going?
Terrific. Nice to have you on. And for the audience that's not familiar, can you tell me a little bit about being the lead doctor at Eternal Earth Sanctuary?
Sure. So for the last 7 years prior to our pandemic we had in this entire planet, I had been studying metaphysics from the Institute of Metaphysical Science. I received my Doctor of Divinity and Doctor of Ministry from there. And I wanted to create a safe space for people to connect to whatever divinity that they felt within themselves, whatever faith they had. And it didn't have to be religious or even spiritual, just something that made them feel grounded and connected. I never had that as a kid. And the only thing that helped me was the earth and being in the forest and playing with the flowers. As you see, I have lots of green back here.
Really cool.
So I created Eternal Earth Sanctuary to create that space for others.
How important is it for us to believe in just something bigger, no matter what it may be?
Honestly, it doesn't even have to be bigger. It can just be yourself. But having faith in something, even if it's having faith in nothing, that, nothing exists. We're all just kind of living in this scientific realm of existence. I think even having some type of belief platform really holds strong into how we navigate our lives and how successful we are.
I can understand what you're saying. Is it kind of like when, I don't know if you've known somebody like that, but someone who's going through a real depression or something, or maybe at the end of their life, but when they stop caring or having faith or being passionate about anything, not caring about anything, you're going down a bad road. Is that accurate? Any of that?
Yeah. So personally for me, I grew up in a pretty Christian Catholic family, split down the middle. And my mom read the Bible a lot. She got me baptized super early. And then later on in life, she struggled a lot with mental health. And, after my godfather, her brother passed, and then my grandpa passed, she had a really hard time. She had to put her cat down. And so all that hope and all that faith started kind of just dissipating. And then my mom actually ended up passing last September. So I could see that faith just leaving her entirely over the last couple of years. And, she called me one time and she said, "Hey, Nick, I need some help." And I'm like, "What's going on?" She's like, I want your view on what happens after we pass. And I was like, "Of course. Okay. Have you ever read the book Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, "I'm going to order this book. You read it. It's 400 pages long. Check it out."
Conversations with what? What was it? I'm sorry.
It's Conversations with God.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's a really good book. And I kind of gave her the summary of it. Comes from a gentleman who was Christian. And he pretty much channels conversations with Jesus in a way that is very non-religious, from this very just practical foundation of humans and the universe. And there's 3 separate books. So first goes into your relationship with you, the relationship you have with others, and then your global relationship. And he really does some phenomenal writing in terms of answering some really hard questions: life, death, the things that, we don't want to talk about, the traumas that women face, that men face, and in a way that almost provides a lot of comfort for people who are lost spiritually. So I gave her that. And she was reading it over the last couple of years, but a book isn't going to cure everybody either, right? So everybody still has to have that desire and that will inside of them to want to be full of faith.
Right. Gotcha. I'm always curious about these types of things, so I had to jot that title down. Conversations with God. You say it's a good book?
Honestly, it's one I use with a lot of my students. It's one that I use in our spiritual studies group that I have in the sanctuary. It's a really great book that I really recommend. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. All right. So maybe me and some of the listeners can check that out. But what I really want to know about is, can you tell us a little bit about quantum blueprint? What is that?
Yeah, sure. So this kind of goes into your, life and death thing too. So quantum blueprint is pretty much like your soul print. So I'm just going to scoot this camera over a little bit so you guys can see this whiteboard I have. Does that
Okay.
work?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So let's just say we're looking down at a bird's eye, like if you're looking from the sky down at a baseball field, right? So here's your blueprint, right? Can you guys see that? It's a little,
If you could come a little closer, that might be better.
let's do this. Can you see that?
That should be better. Yeah.
So I'll just darken it up. Here's your quantum
Ah,
print.
okay, good, good. The darker marker you have, the best. But that should do.
Okay, awesome. So let's say for right now, this is Casey's life, right? You were born whatever year, and then whatever happens, this is your blueprints, right?
Okay, okay.
So born, this is your first, this is A, right? At some point, you're going to get to B, whatever milestone that may be, right? So I'm just going to put a bunch of little dots around here. And I'm just going to show you. These are pretty much your checkpoints as to where you are in your life. And this might be A to B is, you graduated college, right?
Okay.
And then B to C, you got your first home. And then maybe B to D is you got married, had kids. Very, a pivotal point in your life that changed who you are as a human being.
Okay.
A, B, C, all these points, this is what we call destiny or fate, right? These are the things that we're like, oh, this was meant to happen. I was meant to meet this person. I was meant to go to school here. Those are the things here. Now, the tricky part where people are like, okay, but what about our free will? Where does free will play into
Good
that?
question. Yeah.
Well, from A to B, am I going too fast
No,
for
no,
you?
this is great. Great.
So from A to B, you have pretty much endless ways to get there. You have an infinite amount of potential ways for you to get from A to B. So in every space between these markers is your free will. So our lives are combined of a mixture of destiny and free will. So I'm just going to back this up a little bit. We'll kind of go a little bit more into that. Yeah, it can seem really complicated because you're like, oh my God, there's so many facets to it. But at the end of the day, we come into this body, where it's not our first time conscious. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. Many people, and it is scientifically shown through different types of exercises and practices where you can recall who you have been in a prior or parallel lifetime, or who you may future lifetime, right? And I think it's things that are becoming more well known, more spoke about. I don't think it was always something that was always talked about, but now kind of opening up our global spirituality, which everybody's on that kind of like, who am I? What am I doing? What is this? We're kind of all in that space. My goal is to provide practical understandings of the way we operate as humans. What I saw through COVID is that we're all kind of like, wait, what? So we're almost all being reborn again in a way of understanding how to be a human. And having some of these practical ways without it seeming too religious or too airy gives a very grounded, practical manner of how to kind of navigate who we are. So if we understand that, at some points there is this timing that, we can't fight. There is that divine timing that, we want something, we want it right now, but it's going to happen when we get there at point C. It's not going to happen at point B and a half because we just have to keep going. We have to trust the process. So there's a lot of things that go into this, but this is the basis of a quantum blueprint.
Okay. All right. So how do we judge to know what event is a point there?
Okay, great question. So I'm just gonna this is not much different, but I'm just gonna jot the areas
That's
like
much
this.
better, and
Okay.
your audio is better too.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So you see how I'm putting like these red rings around your focal points, kind of?
Right.
Okay. These red rings is what people call deja vu. So so in the deja vu moments there, when you're getting around the ring and you're utilizing your free will to get to A to B, however you get there, as you're coming closer to your next checkpoint, you're going to start to experience deja vu. You're going to start to feel like, oh, okay, I've been here before. Oh, this feels similar. Oh, I feel like I know what's about to happen. Is that waiter going to bring me a cup of coffee? So people, deja vu is real. People experience deja vu very often.
Totally.
So happen all the time. It's nobody can understand why it happens when it happens. So my theory on this quantum blueprint is that it happens when you're getting closer to your checkpoint. That's how you can tell, because all those parallel realities are coming together, and you're starting to consciously connect all of those yous in that one moment. Because right now, right, we're only conscious of the Nicole or the Casey that is standing right here on this video. But there's Nicole and Casey's on parallel, dimensions working to get to A to B too.
So cool. I mean, to get into this, it's so neat. So, chances are, if you're experiencing, because I only have me to go by. I mean, there are times where deja vu hasn't happened in a long time, but then there are times where it's like very frequent. Is that common? Does that happen?
Yeah, so like there'll be times for me when like I haven't had deja vu for maybe 5 years. And then something happens and I might be sitting at like a diner. I remember this one time at a diner, and I'm sitting here with my friends at a diner, and I'm just like, guys, I feel like this has happened before. Like, this feels all familiar. That waiter's definitely about to bring somebody a coffee. And I remember it all in my head, and I could like see everything happening. And she ended up coming and bringing coffee, and we were like, oh, we didn't want coffee, but then somebody just ended up taking it. And it was just, to me, like that was the moment when I needed to learn more about deja vu. And this was before I had even started studying metaphysics. So there were things that kind of just brought me here.
So it's so amazing. It's totally cool. Like, what would you say to this? Because I hate to personalize it, but it's proven a point. Like, I used to play football, right? And from getting hit in the head, this is what they said: from getting hit in the head too much, a lot of the time when I'd get hit, I'd have deja vu, and that's not normal. But I'm having the thought after talking to you that that wasn't a neurological thing at all. That was, and I was in college, so about to get a job. That would
Yeah.
be a point.
Well, a lot of these things, like these kind of like paranormal phenomena, maybe that we can say happen to us, that we experience, is being tried to being explained by science. But that's what's happened for so long. But now quantum physics, quantum mechanics, metaphysics is coming into play, where we're actually able to provide some type of evidence of these things in the realm of, okay, there are certain technologies now, for example, that can take a picture of your aura color. Now, to what extent that's legitimate, I'm sure there's many years of research and development that's going to be put into things like that. Um, but it's possible. Look at our technology in the last, I'm only 30, and I was born during dial-up. We didn't even have Wi-Fi when I was a kid. So even to think that, technology has advanced that much since I was 5 years old is wild to think the things that are going to be able to provide, metaphysicians and quantum physics, all of these tools that they need to actually be like, look, all the things we've been saying for decades and decades, here it is.
Wow, doctor, that it brings up so many things, like from what you were just talking about. I mean, I just read of a company now that has this little implant the size of a piece of rice that goes in your finger, and you can. It's like a credit card. You can swipe that. They have that now. But that I could ask you a whole million things about. But I want to stay because my mind's all over because it's so interesting. But doctor, how about ESP? Does that have anything to do with what does that have on the blueprint? Does that fit anywhere?
I love you say ESP, because when I think of ESP, I personally think of the ESPN network, right? But for me, ESP is really about intuition. And everybody has an intuitive sense. We all have a pituitary gland. We all have a pineal gland. We all have these functioning systems within our brain. And how I like to explain it to people is, through this gland, we have these kind of senses, these antennas. Some people will call it a sixth sense. And there's multiple of those. You have your clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairgoustience. And these are all things where if you're clairvoyant, you have clear seeing. If you're clairaudient, you have clear hearing. Claircognizant, you have clear knowing. Clairsentient, you have clear feeling. Clairgoustience, clear smelling. So all of these senses are heightened through your third eye, your pineal eye, your all seeing eye. And a lot of people will be like, hello, right? But it's like, yes, we can. If you close your eyes in Kundalini yoga, you actually look through the spot between your brow. And that is what helps you to connect to your third eye, because you can start to, as you focus through that point between your brow, you're actually connecting to that space. So you can break through to actually see the ethereal, the spiritual realm.
And that's through that the Kundalini yoga. I've heard that makes you like hallucinate or something.
So Kundalini yoga does utilize the practice of looking up through meditation and different kriyas per se. Other practices of yoga and meditation will also utilize that practice, not just Kundalini. But Kundalini yoga is probably one of the more intenser yogas because it does focus on rapid breath work, that can last up to 3 to 10 minutes of the same posture. So it is made for somebody who is looking to really work through stuff, to kind of go a little bit deeper, to connect more spiritually. A lot of, yoga mainstream has been about yoga pants, yoga studio, let's get our fitness on, right? But there's so much more to yoga than just doing sun salutations and a vinyasa practice. So for me, that's why I chose Kundalini yoga, because I wanted to bring in something that meant a little bit more for me.
Yeah.
And kind of aligned a little bit more with what I do. So I took a trauma-informed Kundalini yoga teacher training. That way I could connect a little bit more to my clients and my community here, to provide trauma-informed practices as well.
Nice. What else? What else can we get? Can we benefit from learning about our quantum blueprint?
Yeah, so the more that we understand like how the universe operates with us and how we can connect to the universe and communicate with it, the easier we can navigate our quantum blueprint. We created our quantum blueprint so that we could evolve as we are consciously in this lifetime. So we're always evolving, whether that's going this way or that way. It's kind of like a pendulum. We're always kind of going back and forth. We can get into that another time. Understanding the quantum blueprint helps us to navigate, because when we're understanding like, okay, I'm starting to feel like stagnant or something isn't right, maybe you're switching those parallels. You have the opportunity to go ahead and say, I don't like this path. I know I need to get to B, but I don't like how this is going. And you can quantumly make the decision to consciously shift your consciousness from this Nicole to another Nicole in a different parallel reality.
Can you go back?
Yeah, you want to go back?
No. Can you go back if you make that decision? Can you go back to the old Nicole?
I normally say yes to things like that, but when we move forward, it's harder to go back.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because we're kind of moving to evolve ourselves. So if we're in this moment of, okay, I don't like this, I'm going to jump to this next reality parallel to get to B, we've previously made that decision to already do it, so we're not going to go back.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes, it does. So interesting. Yeah. Who's a good candidate to come and work with you on the like this blueprint?
Honestly, for the blueprint part, at least, it's probably better for people who are beginners on their spiritual journey. Somebody who is maybe new into metaphysics, trying to understand a little bit more about some of their theories and concepts. This can get a little bit more advanced. So for those of individuals who are already studying metaphysics and who want to kind of go a little bit deeper, this could help them as well too.
Do you do some of this in conjunction with yoga? Does it help you get more understanding, or?
I believe that my entire degree in metaphysics helped me gain an understanding of life in general. So I have utilized everything that I've learned through my doctoral program, and it has honestly changed my life.
How so?
Well, before all that, I was following the footsteps of my mom. I was locked up when I was 19, and I was facing really hard time for just association of people that I was hanging out with. You know, you're young, you want to be in the in crowd. You know, I was popular in school with my friends, and so that follows you when you leave high school. And I kind of got wrapped up in that, in my pain from seeing my mom and everything, her suffering. But then I just kind of found metaphysics. Somebody told me about tarot cards, and I started learning about these different things. And I was like, wow, okay, like this is it. And I started, and I never looked back, and here I am today.
Wow. Doctor, we're almost out of time here. So if you can, let us know what you got going on at the sanctuary, what you want to leave people with, and then how people get a hold of you, please. This has been incredible. I hope we could do maybe a part 2 on this sometime.
Yeah, of course, for sure. I appreciate it so much for you having me today. We do have some great things coming up. I have a current gratitude journal that is a 30-day practice towards self-love. That is a PDF version already available on the website, eternalearthsanctuary.org. We do have a hardcover coming out soon. We also have our micro-module ebook that is coming out on December 31st. Pre-sale is up on the website for that right now. But we got some great support groups and everything here at the sanctuary. We are going to be opening up in the spring for public access. So we're super, super excited. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen in, and I look forward to seeing you guys again.
Awesome. Doctor, thank you so much. Can't wait to hear what's happening next. Thank you very much. Everybody else, we'll be right back. Stay right there.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcasts on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.